Greetings and felicitations.
Hip, hip, hurrah, tally-ho.
Hey, my little Georgia Peach.
Hey, Puddin'.
Are you ready to talk about the awesome television shows of 1969?
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, we're going to go through this TV guide. The cover date is the week of July 19th to 25th of 1969. The cover shows an artist's depiction of men on the moon, and it says the first live telecast from the moon. This is in our collection for a reason.
Yeah, the moon landings, such an epic thing for everybody, for that time and then later on.
Oh, totally. And as much as we love science fiction, this is the point in many people's lives where they say science fiction became science fact.
Yes, it's something that we have been working toward, and yeah, like we saw so many things in sci-fi movies and TV shows, and now we've got something that's happening a step closer to this. It made people more interested in science and science fiction.
Absolutely. So let's go through the magazine, article by article, page by page, program by program, to see what was like. This is actually a time capsule of the year 1969. But first, let's talk about some of what was life like in 1969. Like, for example, cost of living. What was the average income?
$8,000 a year.
How about the cost of an average home?
$15,000.
What about rent?
$135.
What if you had a new car?
$3,000.
A gallon of gas?
35 cents a gallon.
Now, this is so curious. I've said this many times before, that the cost of food is significantly lower now than what it was years ago. So if gas was 35 cents a gallon, how much was a gallon of milk?
$1.10.
I mean, isn't that a huge gap?
It is, yeah. It must be because of technology, they can produce it more of it now.
Factory
and faster.
farming, everything, of course, yes. Okay, how about comic books? What was the average cost of a comic book?
12 cents.
We have quite a few 12-cent ones in our collection. How about the cost of a movie ticket?
$1.50.
And the reigning Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion at that time was Bruno Sammartino. Let's talk about some highlights of the year that happened in television in 1969.
On January 13th, Dick York collapses on the set of Bewitched and is rushed to the hospital. He resigns from the show due to health reasons and was replaced by Dick Sargent.
What did you think about that era of Bewitched?
I mean, I liked both of the guys, and back when I was a kid, I didn't really, care which one was which. And I know Dick Sargent went on to, he was a guest star on Charlie's Angels later and some other shows.
We know that Star Trek only lasted 3 seasons, so the last third season, 1969, it was canceled. It did not have a final episode per se because they were hoping the series would go on to a 4th season. So it's the only Star Trek without a definitive last episode.
Yeah, they didn't close it out.
Mm-hmm.
So that was on June 3rd when the last episode aired, and its subsequent sale to rerun syndication soon after led to a rise in popularity that transformed Star Trek into one of the century's most successful entertainment franchises. Definitely, we know that.
And that's when we got into it, was during syndication.
Yes.
It was on after school. It was on late at night. I mean, it just seemed to be on all the time. I mean, the 70s really revived Trek like no other time period. People were hungry for quality science fiction. On June 21st, what happened in the world of Doctor Who on the BBC?
Patrick Troughton makes his last regular appearance as the second Doctor in the concluding moments of episode 10 of the Doctor Who serial The War Games. It also marks the final time that the series is broadcast in black and white.
On July 20th, obvious, the bulk of this issue of TV Guide is going to talk about it. A live transmission from the moon is viewed by 720 million people around the world.
At 10:56 p.m., Neil Armstrong, followed soon after by Buzz Aldrin, steps onto the surface. Viewers see a scan from broadcasts received at Honeysuckle Creek Tracking Station, followed by Parkes Observatory in Australia. That was how Australia helped out with it, too.
And on December 2nd of 1969,
On I Dream of Jeannie, Jeannie finally becomes Mrs. Anthony Nelson.
What'd you think about that episode?
I thought it was good, even though, once they got married, that was the jump the shark of that show.
The debuts in the 1969 year for television? What are some of the shows?
This is Tom Jones.
I saw him live in Atlantic City. I loved him. I got into him because of Thunderball, the theme song from James Bond.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then I started listening to him more. I was like, man, I really like this guy. What's New Pussycat? And okay, how about the Johnny Cash show?
I didn't know Johnny Cash had a show. Did you?
I did. Well, we found out about it at the Johnny Cash Museum when we took the tour there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But I don't remember seeing it aired in repeats or anything else, just highlights on different programs. You remember that was the era where variety shows were super popular. Oh,
yeah, and even on into the 70s, too.
Yeah, but like when we were kids, you remember Sonny and Cher and Donnie and Marie.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Of course. Hee Haw. Now, your family were Hee Haw fans, right?
Oh, yes. And I remember reading about that at the Country Music Hall of Fame, too.
H.R. Pufnstuf debuted in 1969.
I think I did watch it, yeah, but I never really knew the name of the show or anything.
Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Great show, yeah.
The Brady Bunch. I mean, we always considered the Brady Bunch as a 70s show, but it did debut in the fall of 1969.
That's interesting. Well, I think I only saw it in reruns.
Of course. That was after school all the time.
Yes.
Monty Python's Flying Circus. Big fan of that. My uncle loved it. It was on PBS a lot. Sesame Street.
Oh, yeah, and that one lasted a long time.
Oh, we loved looking at the Sesame Street displays at the Museum of Puppetry Arts in Atlanta. I mean, you want to talk about a show that stands the test of time? Everyone loves the characters on Sesame Street.
Yeah, the puppets and the people, and it, just an educational show and about getting along. Yes.
The Benny Hill Show. I was a huge Benny Hill fan. That was one of the ones me and my brother would watch, and we had to make sure my mother wasn't coming in the room when we were watching that. All right, let's get into this TV guide. Cover article, Live from the Moon. For 2.5 hours, the world will watch the most awesome show ever. What'd you think about how this cover article set up essentially the bulk of this edition of TV Guide?
I liked it. It was showing how it would probably happen because it was written before it happened because it was on TV live. But it was an interesting article, and the way they set it up, the way they because they already knew who the astronauts would be and which ones were scheduled to actually land on the moon.
I like how it's described as TV's most special. And when you think about it, this is a one-shot deal. I mean, there were some specials on television. This is a worldwide, monumental showcase of human achievement.
I mean, it was the biggest thing that had ever happened at that time, definitely. And this was something that everyone was cheering for. I mean, not something, negative like the president getting shot, but something positive.
Exactly. And also discuss various aspects of technology and how this was a human achievement that needed to be shared. So there were cameras set up all along the spacecraft and on the astronauts themselves so they could transmit the data.
And yeah, that's another thing, because when you're reading that, you realize that they thought of everything. Oh, we've got to set up a camera here. And they said they had a tripod. I mean, they had to pull that out of the capsule and set up the camera, and plus having a camera on his person, things like that. I mean, everything was set up to just perfectly, have it ready to go. Everything was planned.
And there was a little bit of a delay, which I think was interesting as well. That everything was thought of, and they were, as we go into the programming that we'll see it, they were trying to figure out, would there be mishaps? What should be aired? How is this going to be transmitted? And we see that the Australians ended up helping out in this endeavor.
And it was not really transmitted the whole time, because the people were there. I mean, the trip took a long time, and then they spent so much time on the moon. And a lot of it, you wouldn't want to just watch them standing around and like the one who had to look over the rover and make sure that nothing on it was damaged or anything. Things like that would be boring, so they didn't show all of that.
So this is the first time something of this magnitude would ever be telecast to this extent, and it took days to do that. There was the next article by Walter Cronkite, We Are Children of the Space Age. And it goes back to the works of Jules Verne and showing how he thought about our future, which at this point would have been science fact.
It's like Jules Verne really predicted a lot of this, and I don't even know if he meant it as a prediction. It was just stories that he wrote. And, I mean, how much did he know, like, that these things would actually come true?
It is pretty impressive to think that.
And the fact that Walter Cronkite was so interested in this, I mean, I just kind of think of him as an old news guy. But he was actually, he said he was excited. He was right on top of this, and he was friends with some of the people in the space program. He just wrote this really exciting article about it.
I like this quote. He says, "No matter how old we are children of the space age."
Amazing. We don't think of ourselves that way now, but yeah, back then, what else could it be? I mean, because it's pushing out into, like, as far as we think we can go, space. But they did say about the cameras that it was black and white transmissions, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Even though some people had color TVs back then, but the technology they took to the moon was black and white. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's interesting because it is in color now. We do see color transmissions now.
Yes. Now it makes this special report saying networks gird for nonstop Apollo 11 coverage. So it says if all goes well with Apollo 11, man will take his first walk on the moon shortly after 2 a.m. New York time, Monday, July 21st, while millions of Earthlings watch it on TV. Nonstop network coverage of the mission, however, is scheduled to begin 15 hours earlier on Sunday morning, and last week's TV news producers were in a frenzy comparable, some said, to the hectic setup days preceding last summer's political conventions. The toughest part, planning to plug a 4-hour primetime stage, wait Sunday night after wiping out all regular shows. So, all the networks were together on this, figuring out what they had to block out, what they had to switch around. So, as we look through our TV Guide collection, this is one of note because there's so many excerpts of announcing your programs could not be transmitting because we might have to insert footage from this historic mission.
I mean, it was something that they thought people wouldn't mind. They thought people wanted to see this. So, I mean, yeah, my TV shows can wait. I got to watch, what's happening on the moon. And of course, nowadays we can just watch a separate transmission and watch our TV shows later, stream TV later, and watch what's going on live now, like we do now with Mars landings or any space thing now.
Man does not easily change environments. So in going to the moon, Apollo astronauts take part of the Earth with them. Oxygen to breathe, food and drink for nourishment. Like the energy breakfast drink of Earth, Tang, with more vitamin C than orange juice. Tang, proud of its role in this new environment, but also proud of its bigger role in the Earth's environment.
All right, so let's get into the programming. Now we're reading from the Scranton Wilkes Barn edition in Pennsylvania. As always, TV Guide begins its programming with Saturday morning. Hey, baby doll, can I come over your house and have some cereal and watch Saturday morning cartoons?
Sure. What cereal are you going to bring?
All right, these are the cereals that debuted in 1969. So you choose which one, and I'll bring it over. Chocolate combos, orange combos, strawberry combos, Dynamin, Fruity Pebbles, Great Good Stuff, Kaboom, Peanut Butter Crunch, or Size 8.
What weird names. I don't know if Dynaman sounds like a good cereal, but...
Or how about orange combos?
Yeah.
Citrus and dairy?
I will go with Fruity Pebbles. I love that one.
A classic. That has endured the test of time. 7:30 in the morning. Cartoons, My Favorite Martian, and Davy and Goliath.
My Favorite Martian?
I like Davy and Goliath, but I could go either way. 8 o'clock, Go Go Gophers, Three Stooges. Which would you rather watch?
I guess Three Stooges. I don't know what the other show is.
How about 8:30, Bugs Bunny Roadrunner, Casper, or Super 6?
Bugs Bunny Roadrunner.
How about Wacky Races, Adventures of Gulliver, Cool Magoo, Archie, Spider-Man, or the Flintstones?
Spider-Man.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Even though a lot of those were good, though.
How about Batman Superman, Fantastic Voyage, or Banana Splits?
Batman Superman. Anything that, superheroes.
All the superhero stuff. Exactly. How about this? Journey to the Center of the Earth, Herculoids, Fantastic Four, or Underdog?
Herculoids.
You don't want to watch Fantastic Four?
Well, that was good, too. Yeah.
It's hard because at this time there's no VCRs, no DVDs, DVRs. I mean, you had to pick one or the other. Or run back and forth between rooms.
Or change the channel on the TV, yeah.
We're going into the afternoon now. Shazam, George of the Jungle, Storybook Squares, Johnny Quest, or American Bandstand, which has Peppermint Rainbow and Andy Kim.
Shazam.
Okay. Now, this is the first of many. Apollo 2. If the mission is on schedule, Apollo will enter lunar orbit at approximately 1:20 p.m. Regular programming may be preempted. Art starting at 1 o'clock. Moby Dick, movie melodrama entitled The Thing That Couldn't Die, Wrestling, The Lone Ranger. What would you want to watch?
The Lone Ranger.
What if I want to watch wrestling?
No, we're going to watch The Lone Ranger.
You're always in control of the TV. Nothing's changed. All right, 2 o'clock. Tom and Jerry, Voyage, Aquaman. What would you want to watch?
Aquaman.
Now we go into the Johnny Cash show into the evening time at 9:30, or Petticoat Junction.
Petticoat Junction?
Well, think about it. Johnny Cash has the guest Ed Ames, the Monkees, Roy Clark.
No, I'll stick with my show.
Okay. Miss Universe pageants on at 10 o'clock, and a variety of movies.
I mean, yeah, I always used to watch the Miss Universe pageant with my Aunt Liz.
Really?
It was fun, yeah.
What was your favorite parts about the Miss Universe pageant?
The part where they came out in the big ball gowns. I love that part of the competition.
Interesting. At 2 o'clock, 2 a.m., it makes this announcement. If the mission is on schedule, the astronauts will land on the moon Sunday and walk on the surface Monday. The networks have planned saturation coverage. See the mission guide on A5. So we're ending Saturday with that announcement and a cross-reference to the mission guide. Okay, so here's the Apollo 11 details of the manned lunar landing TV coverage. As this issue went to press, July 16th was still the launch date for the lunar landing mission. If the launch went on or near schedule, 2 Americans will be on the moon this Sunday, well ahead of the 1970 target date envisioned by President Kennedy. The flight plan for a perfect mission calls for the Apollo capsule to enter lunar orbit on Sunday, July 19th at about 1 p.m. On Sunday afternoon, the landing operation begins with touchdown set for approximately 4:20 p.m. Then, shortly after 2 a.m. Monday morning, the moment, astronaut Neil Armstrong, a civilian, leaves the Eagle lunar module and becomes the first man to set foot on the moon. He is joined minutes later by Edwin Aldrin, while Michael Collins continues to circle the moon on the mothership Columbia. The lunar visit is set to end on Monday just before 2 p.m., when the LEM lifts off from the surface. Ahead lie rendezvous with the mothership, maneuvers to begin the trip home, and splashdown in the Pacific on Thursday. President Nixon is expected to be aboard the recovery ship. Now it breaks down the TV coverage, how complex it is, And to get the most coverage, the stations are working together. But I think this is very interesting, that each station had different commentators and anchors in order to draw in different crowds, depending on who you are following. Like, let's talk, for example, ABC, anchorman Frank Reynolds and Jules Bergman is joined by astronaut Frank Borman, physicist Robert Jastrow, who has written a number of books about space, and Rod Serling, and a panel of science fiction writers including Isaac Asimov and Steve Allen with a piano essay on moon songs. That's a good one, huh?
Yeah, so I mean that's good. We're getting people that they knew audiences would want to see. I mean,
Rod Serling, Isaac Asimov. That sounds pretty awesome.
People associated with science and science fiction. Yes,
exactly. Let's talk about CBS. Anchorman Walter Cronkite, former President Johnson, discussing his role in the U.S. space program. Retired astronaut Walter Schirra, Arthur C. Clarke, author of 2001: A Space Odyssey, and several entertainers, including Bob Hope, Orson Welles, who we know created panic when he narrated the War of the Worlds radio program. Also, Buster Crabbe, who played Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon in the film serials. What do you think about that?
That's an interesting crowd, too. Yeah, I could have probably just, been changing the channel back and forth. Because while maybe one channel has someone interesting, while the other channel has someone who's not as interesting.
And this one also has some of the cast of 2001: A Space Odyssey, plus the HAL 10,000 special effects device.
That would have been neat. Yeah.
Okay, again, they're bringing science fiction fans into this, right? Into the science reality. NBC, anchorman Chet Huntley, David Brinkley, and Frank McGee. Astronauts Tom Stafford and Eugene Cernan, Nobel Prize chemist Harold Urey, an expert in the formation of the solar system. Also, telescopes in Denver and Atlanta with TV camera pickups will attempt to spot the Apollo capsule as it circles the moon.
Oh, yeah, TV cameras on Earth trying to look up into the sky and find it there.
That's kind of cool, huh?
It is.
So, 3 different ways to watch this historic moment. Alright, Sunday morning. If the mission is on schedule, the astronauts will begin preparations for their lunar landing this morning. Network plans to call on at least 31 hours of continuous coverage, beginning no later than 11 a.m. Lots of religious shows on in the morning, but at 9:30, Dudley Do-Right, and also Davy and Goliath. I mean, anything Art Clokey does, I love. 10:30, King Kong, which is a cartoon. Cartoon Carnival. At 11, Bullwinkle, Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry.
11:30, Aquaman is on, as well as the Three Stooges.
Aquaman.
Another excerpt. Apollo 11. At 11:55, if the mission is proceeding as planned, the astronauts will begin their descent to the moon shortly after 3 p.m. and land about 4:20 p.m. 12:30 on Sunday afternoon, Leave It to Beaver. Sunday evening, 6:30, Twilight Zone, Death Valley Days. And the notation, if the astronauts have landed on the moon, the networks will stay with the mission throughout the night, preempting regular programming. At 7 o'clock, Lassie, Land of the Giants. This one gives a description of Land of the Giants. The Earthlings take part in a manhunt when a runaway convict attempts to steal their spaceship. New Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. 7:30, Gentle Ben. Were you a Gentle Ben fan?
I don't think I watched it that much. I watched
Grizzly
it sometimes.
Adams,
I remember.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
I watched it sometimes. Little Clint Howard was on there.
Okay.
Ed Sullivan Show at 8 o'clock. Rodney Dangerfield was on there. I mean, that guy was amazing.
Wow, and he goes back a ways too, yeah.
There's an ad for Silva Thin cigarettes.
Yeah, there were cigarette ads in a lot of magazines back then.
Tons of them. 9 o'clock. Hee Haw. Guests include Merle Haggard, Bonnie Owens. Grandpa Jones tells about his athletic banjo-playing brother. Mission Impossible at 10 o'clock. Love Mission Impossible. 11:45 notation. Apollo 11. If the mission proceeded on schedule, the astronauts will begin their walk on the moon about 2:15 a.m. A black and white TV camera will be set up on the lunar surface. An advertisement, Carnival Photo Labs, special offers. $1 off your Kodacolor film for custom developing. 12 exposures for $1.99. Remember dropping off film in those little bags?
Yeah.
And then have those little stations in parking lots?
No, I don't remember stations in parking lots, but
That's
okay.
where we had it. Where it was like a little, I don't know, it was like a
kiosk.
little booth. It was
One
like
of
a
those,
kiosk or
yeah.
booth. You drove up to it and you put your film in an envelope. Did you have that in your area?
I mean, I always went inside the pharmacy and put it in an envelope.
Okay.
And some people still...
They still have
some
it at
people still
Walgreens.
have, well, they take their camera and have, to have prints made. You can take your camera into the store and you hook it up and it downloads your digital pictures to have prints made.
Yeah. Back in the day, we had these little, I think they were called Kodak Centers or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was like maybe an 8x8 little box in the middle of a supermarket parking lot. And you drive up, and it was near the bank, I remember. This is the Amity section of New Haven on the Woodbridge border. That's where we used to drop off our film.
Okay.
Monday morning. Captain Kangaroo at 8 o'clock. You a Captain Kangaroo fan?
Oh, yes.
How about Romper Room?
Yeah, I watched it.
Mr. Ed was on at 9:30.
No, I didn't watch Mr. Ed.
How about Lucille Ball?
Yeah, I mean, this was not the same as I Love Lucy. This was another
this is
show,
her
right?
post I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was the Lucy show. I watched that.
Mm-hmm. Beverly Hillbillies at 10:30.
10:30. Are we talking morning or
Morning.
night? Morning. Okay. Yeah.
How about Andy Griffith?
Loved it.
Dick Van Dyke?
No, I didn't watch that.
How about Bewitched?
Oh, yeah, I like Bewitched.
Hollywood Squares?
Okay. Yeah, I watched that some. That was funny. Yeah.
Michael Landon was on this one. This is pre-Little House on the Prairie, so this was Bonanza days.
Yeah.
That Girl?
Oh, yeah,
at
loved
12:30?
it. Mm-hmm.
Note at 12:55. If the mission proceeded on schedule, the astronauts will lift off from the lunar surface shortly before 2 p.m. Their spacecraft is due to dock with the command module in lunar orbit around 5:30 p.m. So at this point, we know that they did land. They had to print this magazine beforehand. That's why they keep saying if on schedule.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you woke up Monday morning, there had to be tons of news coverage with those historic words being repeated.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it at least it did get repeated in the news, so people could find out what happened later if they didn't want to stay up and watch this. It's funny because I was thinking so there's young Sheldon who wouldn't have been born yet, but he tried to arrange a watch party at something like 2 a.m. to watch the Nobel Prize awards, and so now I was thinking like my older brother might have done something like that for the lunar landing if he could have arranged something to watch it at 2 a.m.
4 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday, Mr. Rogers. Were you a Mr. Rogers fan?
Yeah, I loved it.
Mike Douglas was on at 4:30, and again, Rodney Dangerfield. So Rodney Dangerfield was hitting the circuit hard.
Yeah, that's interesting because he was still, I felt like he was current in my time, like in the 80s.
Totally. I mean, this guy was a legend. He started out early. Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, love Gilligan's Island.
Dark Shadows is also on at this time.
Mm-hmm.
The Munsters at 5 o'clock.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the Addams Family was better, but yeah, I used to watch the Munsters.
You liked Addams Family better?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Notation at 6:30. If the mission is in progress, regular programming may be preempted for network bulletins and coverage of significant developments. 7 o'clock. Repeat. I Love Lucy.
Yeah, I Love Lucy was great.
Gunsmoke was on at 7:30. I mean, this is the era of the Westerns. Loved the show from the UK, The Avengers, starring Diana Riggs and Patrick Macnee. I Dream of Jeannie, also on at 7:30.
Yeah, I loved I Dream of Jeannie.
Again, the Lucille Ball show is on. Mayberry RFD at 9 o'clock. Did you ever watch that?
I did. It was the Andy Griffith show, except it was in color and it wasn't really as good as it didn't have Barney at that time.
Exactly. I love their chemistry. You take Barney out, it's a whole different show.
Yeah, it was more serious, really.
Family Affair was on at 9:30. 10:30. Notation: if the mission went as planned, the astronauts are due to begin their return trip to Earth shortly before 1 a.m. Johnny Carson Show is on at 11:30. Buddy Hackett and Buddy Rich. Tuesday. From this point forward, daytime programming is pretty much the same because it's a lot of repeats. But at the evening time, we have Time Tunnel at 5 o'clock. Goes against the Munsters. The Mod Squad is on at 7:30. Liberace Variety is on at 8:30. Guests include Eva Gabor, Sandpipers, Scottish singer Moria Anderson, Frankie Vaughan. Liberace plays a honky-tonk medley.
Ooh. Well, he had the personality for it.
It Takes a Thief is on at 8:30. Doris Day is on at 9:30.
She had a pretty good show.
Perry Mason. Love Perry Mason. Wednesday evening, 77 Sunset Strip at 6 o'clock. Tarzan is on. The Last of the Supermen at 7:30. Beverly Hillbillies at 9 o'clock. Green Acres at 9:30.
Yeah, Green Acres was good. Did you watch it?
I watched Green Acres.
Okay,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I loved Arnold.
The pig?
Yeah. I said, like, boy, that must be so cool having a little pet pig.
Okay. Yeah.
Hawaii Five-0 at 10 o'clock. Rolling over into Thursday evening. Gilligan's Island. What was your favorite part about Gilligan's Island?
Marianne and Ginger, and the fact that they, like Marianne had so many different outfits, and Ginger changed clothes a few times.
Wait a second. Ginger had all the outfits, right? She was the movie star.
Yeah. Well, she, like she had that dress that she wore most of the time, but I'm saying she changed the clothes a few times. Yeah.
I never stopped to think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're saying Marianne had a lot of outfits?
She seemed to. Several of the two pieces.
Okay. I'll have to look out for that then. Interesting observation. The Prisoner at 8 o'clock. What do you think about The Prisoner?
It's really a good show.
Isn't it?
And I'm surprised it didn't last but one season. I guess it just wasn't what the audiences wanted back then.
That Girl? You a That Girl fan?
Oh yeah.
I know you love Bewitched at 8:30.
Yeah.
I mean, we be watching TV all night long because there's just so many good shows in this era. Dragnet at 9:30. At 11:30, Johnny Carson, comedian Rich Little. I loved him as a kid. All the impersonations that he did.
Rich Little was good, and he wound up with his own show too.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Friday evening, Wild Wild West. I love the Wild Wild West. I thought
You mean there was a Western that you liked?
It was more of a sci-fi Western. That's why I liked it.
Okay.
It wasn't like a hard Western.
Okay.
Gomer Pyle, USMC at 8:30.
Oh yeah, I loved that. Yeah.
I absolutely loved that. I just remember my father saying, like, I hope you don't ever think that the military is like that, because it's not.
Oh, it's funny seeing him dance, because watching Dancing with the Stars, I found out, so the type of dancing Gomer Pyle did was jive, in case you wanted to know.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
10 o'clock, The Saint, Roger Moore. This is what brought the producers of James Bond to think this guy's going to make a great James Bond, was this series. That would be at 10 o'clock, that would be the last show that I would watch on Friday night.
Mm-hmm. So for the Apollo moon landing, so it said over 53 million households in the U.S. watched it, 650 million viewers worldwide. So, yeah, and it was like the biggest thing back then. It was pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And also, in this TV guide, there's an interview with Paul Lynde. I liked him from Bewitched. He played Uncle Arthur. But this is just an interesting interview. It says he had always struggled. He's been on so much, like TV and movies already and wasn't really quite that famous. But to me, I mean, by the time I knew him in the 70s, I thought he was a household name.
Oh, by the 70s, that's when he had his own show. Sure.
Yeah. But it says he loved doing comedy, and it was just something that he always wanted to do. And so, yeah, he was hoping he would be famous someday. And then there's an article on it's called The Small World of Miss Universe. Now, I always used to watch those beauty pageants, Miss Universe and Miss USA and Miss America. And this article is saying they had chaperones for all of the contestants on Miss Universe, and it would be someone who would look after them and sort of guard their dressing rooms and had to keep the boyfriends out and things like that. It sounded pretty wild. And of course these women had to be in school or have a job, and this was almost the first time without their parents when they had to go and be in this pageant. So it was a different experience for them.
I mean, 1969, you had to have a job? I mean, that seems kind of... Like, my mother was a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty wild that they had to have a job.
Well, maybe they meant
during
later.
That time period.
Yeah. It was really wild. I mean, this was when they're saying when they were in the pageant, they said it was in Florida. I don't remember the Miss Universe. It changed places all the time. It was always in a different country, a different city. But this one they made it sound like it was always in Florida back then.
Interesting. Now, there are quite a few shows that were airing in 1969 that were not on in the summertime that we very much enjoyed, including Doctor Who was in the UK, Get Smart.
Get Smart was always one of my favorite shows.
Hogan's Heroes. I loved that show. Jeopardy.
Okay, it was on back then. It's a really old show.
My Three Sons.
Yeah, I like that one.
The Carol Burnett Show.
Yeah, I love the Carol Burnett Show.
And Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color.
Oh, instead of Wonderful World of Disney, okay.
Unfortunately, some shows did end that year, including...
Star Trek? But we know it ended in 69, yes.
The Saint, The Banana Splits.
Okay, well, if it ended then they still showed reruns of it later, right? I kind of remember watching it, yeah.
Gomer Pyle USMC.
Ah, okay, so that one ended.
And The Avengers. I love that show. I love all those British spy-type shows.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, another cigarette ad closes out the magazine. U.S. government figures show Pall Mall Gold 100s now lower in tar than the best-selling Filter King. You better believe it.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and join our Facebook group. Live long, and may the force be with you. Nanu Nanu.